Hey guys, Spud here. And with today's DCS World update, it comes with what is, in my opinion, the most important new feature to come to DCS World in quite a long time. And I don't mean to sound hyperbolic here because I've been saying that about quite a few updates lately, and that's just because I think Eagle Dynamics is doing a fantastic job lately. However, the new quick action generator really is, in my opinion, probably the most important new feature to come to DCS because it means a ton for those new players who are just getting into DCS, who jump in, maybe they fly through a couple of the training missions, and then they're like, okay, I think I'm ready to go fly and try this game out a little bit more beyond the training. And then they kind of hit a wall and they don't know where to get any content to actually fly through. And much of the content that's out there, like campaigns or multiplayer servers and things like that, are going to be way over their heads in terms of the complexity, the danger to their digital lives, things of that nature. So a lot of folks who come to DCS, they play a couple training missions and then they realize, oh man, I don't even know where to get content to actually fly on. And then they quit. And that's probably the vast majority of people who actually come to DCS. They don't stick for very long. And I'm really hoping from a content creator standpoint, a mission organizer standpoint, and just a community member standpoint, that the quick action generator here will allow for better retention of new and more casual DCS World pilots. So this is my very first time using it, so let's open it up, kind of review it, and kind of talk about why I think it's so important even more as we create a little mission and fly through it today. So we can see it is loading up the terrain and what I think is kind of just a bit of a pared down, less messy version of the mission editor, so that way we can get a mission generated here. Again, this is my very first time using it. This is all live, straight off the cuff here. So looks like at the top here, we can choose an era, World War II, Cold War, Modern. And for today, why don't we go with a modern scenario? Our country today, we will be the USA. Mission type, why don't we go for anti-ship? And we'll go for map of, let's go for Sinai. Why not? Not very much content on Sinai, so this will be a great boon for people who buy new maps that don't have all that much content as well, so that way they can actually fly in something very fun in that new map they just bought. For season, we'll go with springtime. Weather will be, let's go with partly cloudy. Start time, let's go with 0700. And for our aircraft type, let's choose an FA-18C Hornet. Distance to target, let's set, I don't know, let's go with 80 nautical miles. And for heading to target, we'll leave that for now. Not for now, we'll hit regenerate here. And that should pop us into the Sinai map, I believe. If I read the instructions on the ED forum correctly. And I'm interested to see what the mission generator here does in terms of an anti-ship mission, because from new players that I've seen, I see a lot of folks actually wanting to do anti-shipping missions with, say, their brand new F-18 that can load up a whole bunch of harpoons and things like that, but there's very, very little to zero content out there existing for DCS for those anti-shipping type missions. So let's see what we get here. Unfortunately, this loading time is a bit long, but with everything in DCS and all of the new updates that come from Eagle Dynamics, it seems that things start off pretty long to load, and then Eagle Dynamics does some, more optimizations in the background, and things start to load a little bit faster. So hopefully this will get better over the span of the next few updates or so. But we shall see. I'm really interested to take a look at the targets section here and see if it auto-generates targets in terms of enemy ships and what kinds of enemy ships those will create. I'm thinking for today, we'll go with kind of the usual, almost arcadey-like anti-shipping mission, where we'll have some pretty defenseless cargo ships, and maybe we'll pop in some, escorting fighters that we can then engage. Okay, cool. So it looks like it popped in a battle cruiser, and the Piotr Veliki, which is going to be a very challenging enemy, and a civilian ship as well. So why don't we move some stuff around here? Why don't we pull the enemy location further down here? We'll pop us up here by Sharm el Sheikh. Actually, why don't we put them in here like they're going into the Suez Canal? And we'll get dropped somewhere up here named near St. Catherine. Actually, you know what? Let's use some harpoons. Let's put them a little bit further offshore then. So that way the harpoons can actually do their job. And let's go with that. That should work. And for today, let's go for civilian. Let's go for a Sea-Wise Giant. And maybe civilian. We'll go with a Handy Wind. We'll go with a third Handy Wind here, and we'll see how it goes. And then, is there a way for us to add in, say, some escorting fighters or something of that nature? Let's see. Let's put them in allied groups. We'll edit the allied groups. We'll spawn in line abreast. That sounds about right. We'll start from the air. Oh, very cool that it has a start from aircraft carrier function here, guys, because a lot of folks who do get the super carrier, they don't realize how to actually put their jet on the super carrier to try out their additional module that they bought with the Tomcat or they bought with the Hornet. So we'll keep going from air there. All right, we've got 3 wingmen here, and we'll edit our loadout. And cool, so it looks like the mission editor, or mission generator, I should say here, auto-populated a flight with a bunch of AGM-84D Harpoon anti-ship missiles. So that's perfect, and it looks like we also got an at-flare pod on the jet as well. I think that's really great because that's going to allow new players to kind of get used to different weapons and just be given a selection of weapons that pretty much match what the mission or scenario they're creating is going to be basically calling for the most part. Why don't we edit this and go with air-to-ground missiles? We'll go with the AGM-65Fs on the outer pylons. So that way we can get a little bit closer and do some up-close damage with aircraft or with some weapons that, or to kill some ships that might have survived that first wave of harpoons coming after them. Let's see here. What do we got for skins? Why don't we go for a Marine Corps skin for today? Why not? We'll hit OK there. And then can we add in a couple of MiGs that are trying to protect the... Nope, looks like we can't. So that's interesting. Why don't we go for... we'll just add it in. Okay, I guess we can delete that group there. So cool, we got 3 ships to go after. And it's a pretty simple and easy little mission here for us to fly through, but it should be interesting for a nice test. I do wish that we could potentially add in, say, on top of our group of ships here, a couple of, fighters, like maybe some MiGs are escorting this little convoy as they steam up into the Suez Canal zone area. But anyway, let's go ahead and save and fly. Well, I kind of figured this might happen because right when I hit the generate or the save and fly button, I realized that I popped us in like right in at 5,000 feet right near St. Catherine with some pretty tall mountains around Mount Sinai. So let's see what happens here. And where's those allies, those wingmen? There they are. Hopefully they survived. I think one of them crashed into the mountain. So that is something that people are going to have to realize could potentially be a problem when they jump in and fly a mission, is they might put their AI wingmen right into the side of the mountain or themselves right into the side of the mountain, depending on where they decide to spawn in. All right. So let's go ahead and get our weapons all set up here. Let's all good. Air to ground mode. FOV is good. We'll step to the next weapon. We'll zoom in the FOV on that weapon. For our harpoons, we're going to go for radar bearing launch. For our flight, we'll go for a low altitude for a terminal. We'll do a pop for one of them, and we'll seek a medium-sized target, and then we'll step over to the other weapon. Mode, radar bearing launch, flight, and we'll go low for this one. Terminal will be a sea skimmer, and again, seeking a mid-sized target. Perfect. We'll go over to sea mode on our sea search radar. There's our targets. Okay, so it looks like I am able to coordinate with my wingmen here as they get a little bit closer. Flight. Let's go rejoin formation.
Join them.
And we got Sharm el Sheikh International Airport down there. Was once an Israeli Air Force base, while Israel had control of the Sinai Peninsula between 67 and 79, which is pretty cool. There is one airbase right up over here against the edge of the Egyptian and Israeli border near Eilat that I do wish we could have modeled here on this map, because it was an important airbase for the Israelis for quite a long time, even after they gave the Sinai back to the Egyptians. Okay, so let's go ahead and lock one of our ships here, and we'll pull up our FLIR pod. And we'll go with, let's see, looking good. All right. Like our weapons are in range, but we'll get a little bit closer here. So that way the radars in our weapons don't miss our targets. But this is always the easiest way to launch an anti-shipping harpoon, is based off of radar bearing launch, as opposed to just entering in a specific bearing for the launch. I find that that's a lot easier because of the fact that we don't have to, calculate and find the correct bearing and then input that and then potentially make an error, and now your weapon is just flying off into space and never going to hit the ship that you're going after. One thing to keep in mind, though, is you do have to make sure that you hit step and set up both or multiple harpoons on your jet. Otherwise, you will launch one in RBL mode and the other in just a manually set bearing, and that one will usually turn 180 degrees and fly at 360 degrees out into infinity until it runs out of gas. Okay, and 3, 2, 1, here we go. Cruiser ×2. We'll make a little bit of a circle here while we wait for our weapons to head out and hit their targets. And let's check the F10 map and see what our weapons are currently doing. Looks like they're on their way. And we pop up the weapon label here so we can keep track of them a little bit easier. Whoops. Resume back to our cockpit view. And we'll pull up our MAV-Fs. We'll go ahead and box ship, so that way the weapons are set up for attacking a large target like a ship. And our harpoons are doing their thing. Taking a look at this harpoon. Why don't we speed up time a little bit? Okay, looks like we've got our Maverick set on top of our target here. looks like this first missile that's going to impact was our Sea Skimmer. I think she would have popped by now, but she's definitely locked on to the larger ship, which is perfect. That's what we wanted. And, okay, never mind. Looks like this one was the popper. And boom. Nice. And it looks like the damage caused by the harpoons has gone significantly up. And boom. Nice. Okay, looks like we killed that ship, so let's go ahead and finish off 2 of the handy wins with our Mavericks. And we'll go ahead and move our targeting pod off to the next ship in the row. There we go. EDC depress. And it looks like we are locked onto our ship, so we should be within range. And rifle. Select the next ship with our targeting pod. We're in range, and a second rifle. And hopefully the MAV-Fs with their large warhead will sink these 2 cargo ships that we just fired upon. There we go. Looks like they're going after the correct targets. That's perfect. And impact on that ship as well. Let's see what damage did. So it looks like we killed one of the ships, and one of the ships was damaged pretty heavily. I guess it may be a difference in where the weapon impacted, potentially, on the ship itself. But in any case, guys, the missions you can create with this little tool are a little bit more simplistic than what I had originally thought. However, my initial thoughts on this new feature are still 100% valid. I think that this is an absolute boon to DCS World and new players in DCS World, more importantly, because there is just a lack of content, a dearth of content for those new players who are coming out of the training missions and then wondering, what do I do now? And this goes a long way to filling that gap. And then once they're satisfied with and are a little bit maybe bored with these very, very simplistic missions, they can still create the base template, pop it over the mission editor, and then start to get those mission editor skills going from there. So thanks for watching, guys. Great job, Eagle Dynamics. I think that this was definitely needed. And fly safe out there, guys, and enjoy this beautiful game. It certainly keeps getting better and better, and it's definitely doing a better job of actually being a video game instead of just a flight simulator. Thanks, guys, and we'll see you in the next one.